Hello and welcome. Today we are in the tier 10 Soviet battleship, the Kremlin. We're playing a ranked battle on the map Tears of the Desert, and very unfortunately it is epicenter mode. In terms of ships, I think the balance is kind of okay. I don't really like having a Minotaur on our team, but it's okay. It could be much worse. All the other ships are kind of okay. Some are good, some are bad. Stalingrad, for example, is always very nice to have because she's basically like an additional battleship. So I head over towards the eastern flank because, well, I saw the Conqueror went to the west and the Stalingrad went to the west, so essentially they have two battleships over there already. So I figured I would go over to the eastern side. Now, I think the way games often go on this map, especially in ranked, is that both sides start fighting, that is, both flanks start fighting on both sides, and one side wins on one flank and that part pushes in, then they collapse into the middle. Essentially, early on there's fighting a lot all around, and if neither side wins hard enough, then the fighting collapses into the middle and it ends up being a fight over the middle cap zone. So effectively, if you can do very well at the start on the edges, then you can essentially assure victory. Alternatively, you can get an advantage by winning the middle part early, such as we are right now, right? Look at that gearing. That gearing on the enemy team is at 1800 HP, whereas our destroyers are still fairly healthy, well, almost full HP. No, they are essentially full HP. Which means that we should have a sizable advantage when it comes to the middle of the map, right? Because their gearing is obviously either going to sink or be expelled from the cap zone, and then we should be able to take it. However, they are slightly countering it with their aggressive Kremlin over there. Their Kremlin is so close to the middle that our ships might not actually want to go for it. But I am fighting on the eastern flank and there is a Grozovoy in front of me, so I'm going to simply turn around. See, we're making a bit of a mistake in that we have an Ohio and the Kremlin in the exact same position. This means that we have no angle differences at all. One enemy ship can angle against both of us at basically melee range. So usually when two ships are in different positions, the closer you get between them, you know, one of them is going to get an advantageous angle. However, here, you know, you could get as close as you would want. You would still angle against both of us. So I think I need to reposition, especially since the Ohio is going in, and obviously it makes more sense for the Ohio to go in because she has secondaries. And secondaries will scare off destroyers, and obviously they can make a cruiser such as a Stalingrad or a battleship such as a Shikishima start moving. However, over here I think this is a bad fight overall. I don't think we have much to win over here because that Shikishima is obviously playing defensively, he's a good player, so even if we do push up, the Shikishima is simply going to disengage and get further and further away, and then we end up in a position where we have to fight a bow on Stalingrad or kiting away Shikishima. Meanwhile, we're being torpedoed to the side by a Grozovoy. Oh, our Marceau actually found the Grozovoy. Oh, this is actually good. If the Marceau can get the Grozovoy, then maybe this could actually work. I'm gonna wait for the Marceau or Grozovoy to get out from behind the island. Then I'll take a shot, but chances are she's obviously going to go down there. But if we get a DD advantage here, we can absolutely push this side. Okay, good. Grozovoy went down. Excellent. I guess we can actually go for the... Oh, never mind. The Marceau got taken out. I guess that makes sense, right? Stalingrad has radar, and obviously that's two ships firing at her when she has already taken a lot of damage. So that actually makes this a very bad side now. Because, again, we would be fighting a bow on Stalingrad and a kiting away Shikishima. We have no way of actually dislodging either of them. And they might actually get help from someone, like that gearing that was in the middle. Because that gearing is low HP, and two battleships being alone, they have no way to counter a DD, right? There's no threat of radar or anything like that. So I'm going to simply go to the other side of the map, see if we maybe can start crossfires over here. Maybe we can take out that Hindenburg or something along those lines. Meanwhile, I think our Ohio should simply try to reverse and then disengage. Just run away. There's very little to be gained over there. But then again, Ohio is fairly low, so perhaps that actually can't happen anymore. We need to actually fight over the middle cap at this point, I think. And just make sure that the outside one is contested. Pretty sure the middle one is getting us points. Yeah, obviously it is getting points. That means there's no destroyer in the middle. And time is completely in our favor at the moment. The more time goes on, the better it gets. Although I suspect that... Oh! Okay, so I guess we might actually be able to take out that Hindenburg. She's fairly low. 14k HP. That's good. But that Stalingrad is a bit of a troublesome issue for me. Because I can't go close. Stalingrad can citadel a Kremlin if you show too much broadside. But it has to be fairly close range. And I don't really need to worry too much about it. However, she can be dangerous, and fighting a bow on Stalingrad just takes forever to be able to sink her. However, if the Stalingrad is showing side like our Stalingrad right there, then you can easily sink her, and obviously she's being punished from across the map. And that was very bad for us. Even if we get this Hindenburg in return, it's not really worth it, because Stalingrad is obviously a much stronger fighting force than a Hindenburg is. But that is what it is. Haya's still alive, so that's good. Maybe we can take out this Daring, because if we can get the firepower of multiple ships combining on that Daring, as she is spotted by the Holland, I think this could go very, very, very well for us. If we can take out the Daring, then all they have left in terms of destroyers is the very low HP Gearing, who will have to be afraid of our DDs. And our Gearing is going and helping the Ohio. Well, I guess there's technically no Ohio anymore. The Shikishima took her out. But the enemy Gearing is over there. We saw that. I don't know if we saw that or will see that in a bit by the torpedoes over there. But essentially the reason the Ohio got taken out is because the enemy Gearing went and probably spotted her, which allowed the Shikishima to fire. But that does mean that the enemy Gearing is over there. And since they lost their Daring here, it means there's no DD we have to worry about. The Holland gets free reign essentially, and I suppose the Gearing, because she does have long-range torpedoes. However, I'm going to turn around and I'm gonna prepare for the middle fight, because it's obviously happening. The Stalingrad is already pushing in, and I'm guessing that the Kremlin over there is also heading in. The main thing is, I would have really liked if we could have taken out that Hindenburg before, you know, she gets to heal up again, but alas, it's a bit late for that. Also, Shikishima is clearly coming closer as well. So it's clearly gearing up for a middle fight. So I'm gonna simply turn in. I'm gonna try to get some decent shots on this Stalingrad if I can, but obviously she's going to angle against me. Because the only other battleship we have is Conqueror, and, well, whatever the Stalingrad does, she is going to be angled against the Conqueror due to her positioning, compared to mine. So essentially, we don't open up enough of a gap between the two of us that the Stalingrad has to choose whether she angles against one of us. Also, our Gearing found their Gearing, so I think that's good. Oh, that's actually bad. We lost our Minotaur for virtually nothing here. I don't really know why she pushed in, but I guess that was kind of expected. Oh, we might actually get a shot on the Hindenburg. Yeah, I aimed at the Bourgogne, but the main point is that the Hindenburg's gonna ram into her, so either of them could get hit by those. Okay, so clearly this is going to be a fight over the middle. Our Holland can obviously play around with the cap points very easily here, because there isn't much to spot her. Sure, Stalingrad can radar, but then Holland can pop behind the island and be safe. Ooh, I think Stalingrad is gonna show us some broadside here, due to those torpedoes. Oh, that's good. Oh, a citadel hit, excellent. Anyway, we need to reverse here. I can't go too close. If I go too close, I'm gonna get taken out too quickly and then we lose the game. Because I have to tank a lot of damage here. I mean, look at that. 80% HP Shikishima, full HP Stalingrad. Well, okay, it's more like an 80% HP Stalingrad. Oh, come on, I can't fire over that island. Oh, come on. That's so unfortunate. If my guns had reloaded like 1 second earlier, we might have been able to sink that Stalingrad right there, but the guns just, they can't fly over that island with Stalingrad being so close to them. Or so close to the island. If she had been slightly further away, or maybe even if I had been further away, But I'm pretty sure as things were, my shells would not have been able to arc over that island, at least not to deal any kind of significant citadel damage. Maybe overpens and maybe a few penetrations, but nothing too major. And that's quite unfortunate. But this does mean that I have to push, I have to go into that middle cap zone, because we have nothing contesting it. We can contest the second ring, but the middle one, it's going to be hard. However, we are taking the outer ring right now. Our gearing is taking the outer ring. That's excellent, because we can take it. They have no ships that can actually contest that. So if we take that, then we... Wait, what? If we could take that, we would take points, but our gearing just left the outer ring? Why? Holland, please go into the outer ring and take it. But at least we're probably gonna get the Hindenburg right here, which would be very, very nice to have. Excellent, goodbye. But please, one of your destroyers, go out into the outer ring and take it, because we would get the points lead from that. And obviously, the enemy is not in a good position to try to contest that. One of their ships would have to turn out and then sail into the outer ring to be able to take it. This would give us a definitive advantage here, and would give us a clock to actually win this. Because right now, they're obviously taking points from the middle, and this does mean I have to go into the middle. Because nobody else is in a good position to do so. Well, maybe one of the destroyers, but they would be risking their ship because the enemy has a Stalingrad that obviously has radar. So, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know why none of the destroyers are going into the outer ring. That would be a great way to get an advantage here. Maybe they think that their torpedoing will just make a huge difference, and it could, right? Because if they can torp that... I mean, the enemy is basically playing with battleships against two destroyers. It's going to be difficult, and you're going to screw up once in a while, which does mean you're going to need the torpedo. But it's risky. And I'm gonna have to just basically sit here with my one heal and my... Oh, Bergun actually got hit. And my Kuznetsov captain, and those are the only ways that I can regain health. So I need to make sure that I can survive as much as possible. They have a Shikishima. She can overmatch my bow at the top, which can take, you know, I can take lots and lots of damage over time from that. But it'll take a while before I go down to that. I think a bigger worry is if the battleships start firing HE actually. But that's okay. As a Kremlin, I do have a fast damage control party. Now I'm gonna just start reversing away. I need to keep moving so that the enemies don't have like purely easy shots. Oh, maybe we can go over here to the Kremlin. She's far away from the island. Yes! Oof! 50k damage to that Kremlin, right? Wow! See, the difference between this Kremlin and the Stalingrad earlier were that the Stalingrad was very close to the island, whereas the Kremlin was far from the island. So that worked. Wait. Oh, Stalingrad, what's this? What are you doing, Stalingrad? Oof. Goodbye. What was that, Stalingrad? No, seriously, what was that? She just donated like 60k HP to me easily. That's a really silly thing to do. Now, okay, this is kind of a throw, but I'll say it's kind of a throw because if you think about the match from their perspective, they have to do something, right? Because we have two destroyers. The enemy doesn't know what our destroyers are doing, right? Maybe one of the destroyers is like wrapping around and is gonna YOLO the Shikishima and delete her. So the enemy has to try to change something. Because I was in my position, the Conqueror was in her position, they probably don't know that I don't have any heals left. Maybe they think I still have an extra heal. And so it would be very difficult for them to potentially sink me. Or at least that's what they might think. And as a result, they probably figured that they have to do something, otherwise they're going to lose the game eventually, because the game is going to end in 5 minutes. However, I think they did it very poorly, because the Stalingrad went first. The battleship should have gone first, and then the Stalingrad followed. But I don't really know. I mean, if you really think about it, the Stalingrad would either have to show broadside to me or the Conqueror. I really would have shown broadside to the Conqueror, but it probably wouldn't have made a difference. But now we have a definitive lead. We have the middle cap zone. They have no really good way of contesting it. If we had taken the outer zone earlier, we would probably be like 200 points ahead. But things are still looking good. Sure, we only have one Conqueror, but they have a Kremlin and a Shikishima. And we have two destroyers that are pretty good with torpedoes. One of the destroyers has decided to become a gunboat instead though, and I don't really understand it. Sure, Holland guns can deal a lot of damage, but are you really going to risk it here? At this stage of our ranked battle? Because I mean, think about it. If you get one unlucky salvo, get hit by one unlucky salvo by the Kremlin and the Shikishima, your Holland might just be gone. I mean, 6k HP, you get one unlucky salvo from a Kremlin, one salvo, and 6k HP on a Holland is just gone. I really don't like this kind of risk that the Holland is taking. It just doesn't seem worth it here. Because not only does it risk your ship, it also gives away your position, right? Devourer here in his Shikishima obviously knows exactly where the Holland is because the Holland is constantly firing her guns. Which means that Devourer knows also exactly where the Holland could launch her torpedoes from. All she needs is to know when Holland fired her torps once, and then she probably knows the timing. Okay, he's actually turning it. Maybe he's not quite aware. Or maybe he just knows so well that he is sure that he can easily dodge these. Because that's exactly what he did just now. But he's probably not going to expect those torpedoes from the gearing behind the Holland. Because obviously, you know, they know the position of the Holland, but not the gearing. And oh, they actually are going to finish off that Kremlin. Huh. Maybe that gunfighting is worth it on the Kremlin. But honestly, we could have just won by points, right? Because they obviously can't block all three zones, right? Because they only have two ships. But regardless, goodbye Kremlin. And there's the torpedo that Devourer did not expect. Also, shout out to Devourer. He chats quite often in my Discord. And pretty sure he has watched my videos for a very, very long time. Oh, is that the second torp? Yes it is. Did that cause a flooding? Well, not quite. But Holland is at 4k HP. Shikishima gets like... Now I guess it would be 3 overpens on the Holland and Holland's gone. But she is healing now, so perhaps it's not as risky anymore. Our Conqueror was taken out, but again, the points are in our favor now. Imagine if we had had an outer ring all this time, we might actually be approaching 1000 points at this point. Okay, let's see how much damage is it. That was 6k damage. I'm just saying, Holland, if that Shikishima had fired against you instead of that Conqueror, you would be gone right now. So, I don't know, that was some incredibly risky maneuvering by the Holland. But it worked out, so maybe it's not that bad. Still, this game was a lot closer than it should have been. If we had had that outer ring all this time, I could have understood the Stalingrad's move then much more. But here, well, we're gonna win in 20 or 30 seconds. Unless, of course, the Shikishima actually does go down, in which case it would be earlier, but I think that's fairly unlikely. "10 seconds to go." Sorry, Devourer. He did actually rank out in the Shikishima from what I heard. Like, basically only playing the Shikishima. So, it does work. But not this time. But here's what I did. I sank 3 ships, 8 citadels, 197k. Okay, let's be honest. A lot of that damage was donated by the enemy Stalingrad. But look at that Conqueror. Honestly, I think the Conqueror on our team is the true hero of this game, because that Conqueror beached himself very well behind the island. I would really love to compliment, honestly, pretty much everyone on in this match, because everyone played well. Even that Stalingrad that kind of threw, right? Because if you think about it, he did play really well early on with his positioning. He went into the middle early and all of those things. All of that was incredibly useful. It probably does kind of feel bad for the enemy that the Stalingrad was the one to save the star though. Because that, yeah, showing broadside there was a bad idea. I think the Stalingrad should have just turned behind that island and then just went further and further away to get to like maximum range or something. Because that Stalingrad was very healthy and at that point would work virtually like a battleship. But 3.6 million potential damage, 186k damage taken. I took a lot of damage. But I also dealt a fair bit of damage myself. 66k to that Kremlin, and 84k to the Stalingrad. It was a great game, and the title is a bit clickbaity, because I honestly don't think it was that big of a throw. I truly feel that the enemy felt like they had to do something in that moment, and that something they picked just wasn't a very good choice. But I do feel that they felt as though they had to do something, because 2 destroyers, we saw that they weren't like very impactful torpedoes, but you never know that, right? You get a lucky torp salvo, or unlucky torp salvo if you're on the receiving end, and you might just lose a battleship or even multiple battleships, and then suddenly a game that seemed very decent ends up being a loss, right? So this is why destroyers are just so important to have. And also, again, the outer cap zone. Anyway, upgrades wise, priority target, adrenaline rush, superintendent, concealment, expert fire prevention, expert marksman, then jack of all trades, and expert loader. Because I don't really think you need expert marksman on the Kremlin, but I just used this captain on the Stalingrad and on the Petropavlovsk and on the Slava, so I do want my expert marksman. Upgrades wise, I use the reload upgrade, then concealment, then here I use damage control. But I'm thinking maybe I should swap over to propulsion, because propulsion does feel incredibly nice. And Kremlin does have the very quick damage control party, so maybe it's okay, at least for ranked. Then dispersion, damage control again, and main arms modification 1. Although, I don't actually know if you need main arms modification 1. Maybe the turrets can survive everything regardless. I really need to think about that one. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would like to thank the patrons and Patreon. Thank you very much for your continued support, and I hope I'll see you guys next time.